Hello everyone, my name is Elijah, and in this tutorial you will learn how to make a 3D logo inside of Blender. In this tutorial you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn about modeling, you're going to learn about how to troubleshoot and fix common issues that arise when you're modeling inside of Blender. You're going to learn how to work with text inside of Blender. You're going to learn some about materials. You're going to learn about animation. You're going to learn some about rendering. You're gonna learn a little bit about After Effects and how to, what to do with your 3D logo if you do want a transparent background, things of that nature. You're gonna learn a ton, and honestly, just watching the workflow of an experienced Blender user as well. I hope that with watching this tutorial, it will assist you in your 3D journey of making your 3D dreams become reality. And hey, if you liked the tutorial, I do offer one-on-one tutoring and teaching at a very reasonable cost. I have a master's degree in teaching, and I'm also a certified instructor here in the state of Georgia. I'm an experienced video editor, visual effects artist, etc. You can see some of my work on my other YouTube page, which would be Christian Erudition. And so yeah, if you're someone looking for that privatized one-on-one help, you can comment below on this tutorial video, or you can email me at virtualtutorials123@gmail.com, and I definitely look forward to working with you. And by the way, I know that we're making a particular logo that coincides with a different YouTube channel that I have, but you can take the principles that we're going to learn here and make any 3D logo you want with them.
What's up guys? So today I wanted to show you how to make a 3D logo inside of Blender. Let's jump in. So we're gonna open up a new Blender file, and I wanted to show you the logo that I am seeking to create. So as you can see here, I don't like how this particular file has a lot of fluff around the edges. Let's see if we can clean that up a little bit. We're gonna head on over here to Photoshop, and we're going to create a new file. I'll leave it to 1920 by 1080. We'll add in fixed logo, no sides. Let's create this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this logo that I use. I think it's this one. Let's see. You might not be able to see it right now because the background is white and the letters are white. Let's get rid of this though. And what we can do is we can go over here and we can see the height right here and the width right here. So this tells you our dimensions. So let's just make the canvas size. So I'm going to do, go up here to canvas size. Now I'm going to change the dimensions here. Make sure relative isn't checked. But I'm going to make it the same exact dimensions as my logo. So there we go. Clipping will occur, yes. That's perfect. Okay. So now what I want to do, we'll go ahead and save this. And we'll save it on my computer. And now what we'll do is we'll export this as a PNG. Now we have that going on. So let's go back into Blender. Let's delete the original one that we put in there. Let's go back into Blender. And we deleted the original one that we had in there. And let's add another one. Let's add the one that we just made. So we'll go to where it's being held at. Here we are. Ah, yes, beautiful. Now, what I want to happen is I want this logo to rest squarely on the bottom of our situation here. So there's a few different ways we could do this. You could eyeball it, but that's probably not the best way. So what we're going to do is we're going to empty it. We're going to get rid of that. I'm going to set my cursor to the world origin, and that is where we would expect this reference image to come in at. So we're going to add the reference image. For me, it's going to be this one. I'm surprised that it did that. Let's get rid of that, and let's go back to, we're going to snap the cursor to the world origin. So technically, whenever we go to apply our image, our reference image, it should come in to that point. There we go. Okay, so there's our reference image, and that's what we've got so far. And so now what we want to do, let's look at it from the side real quick, and let's bring this thing out. Let me not only affect origins, but the whole thing. And I'm going to snap it to the Y. Let's bring it out just a little bit. Okay, let's come back. All right, perfect. All right, looking good so far. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is, you know what? Let's bring that thing out. Let's bring it back just a little bit more. I've got snapping enabled right here. Let's get rid of that. Turn it off. And then go back here and just move that back just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So now the next thing that I want to do is, see if we were to look at this thing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in probably a cube. Let's go ahead and bring the cube in here. Here we are. Let's bring this one. All right, not bad, not bad. But it kind of looks like the cube. We're kind of looking at this. Yeah, that's good. In actuality, we probably want this. Guy to be behind the cube here. There we go. That way, when we're looking at it straight on, we've got the cube situation here. Also, we can affect the opacity of this cube so that we can see it better. And that might not be such a bad thing, but we could also just work with it as we have it right now. So let's see if we can scale this thing down a little bit. Get it to the right size that we want. There we go. Kind of match that. I'm going to grab it. Kind of bring it up here. There we go. Let's zoom in a little bit and see what we're working with here. Let's go ahead and there we go. And then what I want to do is I actually want to scale it to where the bottom goes up, basically, right? So what I can do here is I can go to edit mode. And what I want to do is I want to select this vertex right there. And then what I want to do is I actually want to change the origin. I want the origin to go there. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the selection, the cursor to the selected there. And now if we go back into object mode here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my origin, and the origin is going to be to the 3D cursor. And so why did I do that? Well, now when I go to scale this object, it should scale appropriately, right? And in fact, I think I might have put it on the wrong side. So we'll go back through here and we'll fix that real quick. So let's go back into object mode here, or you can press shift to get there. I'm going to select that one. And then I'm going to, I want my cursor to the selected. And then I'm going to head on back over your object mode. And then I want to change my origin, which you can do that here too. If you go to, let's see, if you snap it up here, you can do the origin to selected, or I'm sorry, the set origin to on the 3D cursor. There we go. And now whenever I go to scale, it's not going to scale it just from anywhere. It's going to scale it from right here. So let's do that. Let's scale this thing. So obviously you can press S. You can use the scale button over here. For me, I have an on-screen keyboard, which helps me. So I'm going to scale it. And I don't just want it to scale from any which way. I'm going to scale it. I'm going to lock it to the Z because I only want it to scale on the Z axis. Let's see how this is looking. Okay, not bad so far. And then I'm also going to just move it slightly, constrain it to the X axis here, just to kind of get it to align just a little more closely. There we go. And there we go. So looking good so far. So now what I want to do is I want this cube to go all the way over to this side. And also I want to make sure that my cube is the right kind of width. So I'm going to look at it from the Z dimension here. And I kind of want it to be more rectangular than perfectly square. So I probably will scale this along the Y. You can always tell which direction you're scaling it based off of your little gizmo over here. So let's see here if we can scale it. We'll scale it along the Y, which for me is my little green button right here. You can obviously use the keys to constrain that. So that looks good for me right there. And let's see what we're working with here. Also, if you're ever kind of in this position where you just get kind of lost, you can head on back here. You should be able to press the period button. Normally kind of gets everything back going. You can also isolate it by pressing the backslash button, bringing that back. Let's see what happens if we do this. Yeah, so anyway, heading back here. So we've got this going on. I'm going to bring this a little over to the little back over here. That looks good. I'm going to scale it down just a little bit more. Scale it along the Z once more until we get it nice and perfect. There we go. So now what I want to do is I want to take this thing, I want to bring it over to the other side. Well, how do I do that? Well, let's head on into edit mode, shall we? There we go. And so I know, but if I were to select just these two, it's only going to select these two vertices, and I want it to select all four of them, because if I just move these two vertices, then we're going to get into a situation where, and it might look correct, but if we were to look over this kind of in a top-down situation, see, it didn't select these vertices on the back, and that's not good, right? That's not what we're wanting. So let us undo this, Control Z. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that I can select through the object, which is the X-ray mode up here. So let's head back over here. Let's select through there, and then let's just double check. Let's just double check that it selected all four of them. Yes, it did. And actually, we'll go on the bottom too, just to be double checked. There we go. Perfect. So let's head back over here. And what I'm going to do is I want these vertices to come all the way out here. So that should be pretty easy. We should just be able to grab them, and then we're going to constrain it to the X, and we're going to move it all the way over here. That's perfect. And then we will left click to confirm that. Now, all right, guys, so far so good. Not too bad. So what we're going to do now is I want to basically be able to bring this down, right? Well, this is where what we will call is a loop cut comes into play, because I need something to be able to bring down here, right? So let's do that. You can add loop cuts in over here. You can add a loop cut. You can add it here, and then you can use your mouse scrolling wheel. Generally, you should be able to use your mouse scrolling wheel. It looks like it's going in and out for me right now. I'm going to press escape to get out of the situation. Let's see here. Shouldn't be able to press escape. We'll go back here. I got rid of it. So for me, I'm going to do my loop cut. I have it here, and then if you scroll your mouse, you should be able to add in those extra loop cuts, right? And so what I'm going to do is what I should have done before I added the loop cut. So let's undo that. I'm going to enable it such that, well, since this one doesn't really have any geometry, I can't really snap it to that. So I just kind of got to eyeball it the best that I can. So we'll go back to add the loop cut, and again, you can do that here. There we go. We added one loop cut there, and I believe you can kind of do it manually with that. For some reason, it wasn't allowing me to use my mouse for that properly. But this is the right amount of loop cuts that I want. So we'll press enter to kind of finalize that, or just go up here. And so what I want to do now, we still have X-ray mode here. So
Hey guys, thanks for making it this far in the video. Would you just take a moment to click like and subscribe on the video? These videos take a lot of time and effort and energy, and it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much.
I'm going to bring this set of loop cuts, I'm going to bring those over to about right there. That looks good. And then we'll do the same over here. Bring those, and remember, you have to have X-ray mode on, or else it's not going to work. Let's constrain it to the X-axis. There we go. And that looks good. There. All right, so far so good, right? All right, let's keep going here, and then let's make sure that we still have the sort of our rectangular looking situation going on. Perfect. Let's go back into the Y view, the orthographic view. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these two, and I'm also going to shift, which for me, I can use my on-screen keyboard situation. And what I want to do is I want to take those, and I want to grab them and bring them down. So let's see what happens if we do that. Even if I constrain it here, it's bringing the whole thing down. It's not just the two of those things. So that's not good, right? So what we want to do here is actually we want to extrude a potential part of it, or a particular part of it. So what we want to do here is we want to change it to the face mode selection. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of that mode just for a second, and we're going to select our two faces. So for me, I'm going to shift select our two faces here. There we go. And those are the ones that I want to bring down, right? So now that we know that those are the ones that are selected, we're going to be set up for success here. So let's go ahead and let's see what happens if we do another G. Oh, the same thing happens. All right, let's cancel that, right click. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to extrude. You can extrude using this tool over here, or you can just press the E button. And for me, I have an extrude button right here, and it's already constrained to the Z, because that's the only direction it can go. And we're going to constrain it to that one. Oh, let's see here. And that looks good right there. Perfect. You can press enter to finalize that move. All right, guys, looking good so far. And now what we want to do is we want to do the same thing that we did up here. Do you remember the tool that we used? It was the loop cut, right? It was the loop cut. Probably should have given you a little longer to figure that out. But so let's add a loop cut to this one. Do you remember how we did that? You can come over here and do it. There's also a shortcut you can use. You can use Control R, and that'll get you the loop cut, which is, I have that built into my little button right here. So let's do that. I'm going to add a loop cut there, put it where I want it, and then confirm with my left click. And then we'll do it again over here. That's perfect. And we'll confirm it over there too. And so now we want to do the same thing that we just did. We want to select the face part of our mesh, make sure that we are in the face select mode. There we go, perfect. And we're going to do the same. And you know what I just realized is that because this object is symmetrical, we could probably use a mirror modifier. Hey, that's pretty cool. Maybe I can show you how to do that. So yeah, let's do that before we go any further. Let's use a mirror modifier. So, well, what in the world is that? Well, it makes it to where, since it's symmetrical, you only have to work on one side of it, and it will just double, you don't have to double your efforts by going to the other side. Let's go in here. Let's get a straightforward situation going on. And what I want to do is I want to add another loop cut here, right in the middle. There we go. Perfect. And so basically at this point, what I'm going to do is let's head on over here to see our vertices. And then let's make sure we have the X-ray mode on. I'm going to delete all of these, which should be the X right here. Delete these vertices. Perfect. Oh no, all that work we just did, it went away. That's okay. That's okay. And here's why. It's because we can use a mirror modifier. So let's go in here and let's go over here to our little wrench, our little mirror modifiers. And let's add a mirror modifier. Perfect. And as you can see, the mirror modifier, it does it around the origin point, which for us is way over here. So it does it way over here. So we need to move our origin point over to this vertex. And that's not too difficult. We can do this. We can select this vertex, and I'm just double checking here. Yeah, we can select this vertex, which is at the very center of where we want it. And then we can move the 3D cursor to the selected, just like that. And if we go back out here, then whenever we go to set the origin, we can set the origin to 3D cursor. And just like that, that's perfect, right? Now, you don't have to see this in edit mode, right? We do see this in edit mode, but you can turn that off over here. But it's kind of nice to see it, isn't it? And here's an interesting thing. All right, so now that we have that, let's head on over here to, let's go back to doing what we were originally doing. Let's head back here. And remember, we were going to select this face. We have to be in face select mode in order to pull that off. So now that we have this face selected, All right, let's bring this back over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see what happens if we go to G, and then we're going to constrain it to which axes? Oh no, it's bringing other things. So again, this is not a G grab situation. This is a right click to cancel. This is an extrude situation. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make this, it automatically does it for me. And see how it's kind of overlapping right here? That's a problem, right? We don't want it to overlap. That's not good. So what we can do is we can go over here to clipping. Let's see what happens if we do that. Let's extrude again. Oh, and by the way, let's see here. There we go. Perfect. And by the way, one concern is that if you extrude and cancel, it does create more geometry. And you kind of forget that you created it, and then you do the extrude again, and it could create more geometry. So just to be on the safe side, let's select all. Let's select all our geometry by pressing A. And then what we want to do is let's just kind of see if we've got any problems, right? Let's head on over here. Let's see, non-manifold. Let's unselect that. Let's select non-manifold. We've got a problem here. We've got some non-manifold geometry, not at the bottom actually, but here at the top. Let's see what's going on here. Go back into orthographic view. What is going on here? Sometimes there can be a situation where you have vertices that are very close together, but they're not merged. That can happen, right? So let's just see if we select all of our vertices, and then let's see here. Okay, here we are. If you go to mesh, and you want to do a by distance situation, and then you want this merge distance to be pretty low, because if you do it too high, vertices that shouldn't go together start to merge. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. So let's go back to the default setting, which we can right click and we can go to reset to the default value, and look down here, it removed our 4 vertices. Hey, that's pretty nice. Okay, so let's head on back over here to it. So now let's see if we get if we say select all by trait and non-manifold. It's still saying that they're non-manifold. I wonder what's going on here. Well, let's see if we can keep going here. So we can do select all by trait and then select by sides, right? So sometimes you might have too many sides, and I know that might not make sense right now, but it will. So we're just double check and make sure everything's 4-sided. That's good. Another option we can do over here is, let's go to let's see here. If we do a 3D print, sometimes we can do one of these. We can check everything, right? And I love this because it tells us exactly what's wrong. Oh no, it looks like we have. And if you don't have the 3D print, I believe it comes native with Blender. You can go into edit. Let's see, preferences. You should be able to, let's see, is it extensions? Let's see if it's, yeah, 3D print toolbox. You definitely want to have that one ready to go, right? Turned on and everything. So it's wonderful. And it's going to help us. Oh, I see that we have some non-manifold edges. Well, let's see if we can fix these non-manifold edges. Maybe, and again, remember, we can come over here and turn off our mirror modifier so we can kind of see our actual geometry. Maybe it could be one of those situations where there's like a duplicate of edges, right? Let's just see what happens if let me get rid of this view so we can actually kind of see it a little more clearly. If we were to select this one, and then let me see if I were to delete the edge. Well, that's not it. Let's undo that. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, I know why it's telling me that it's non-manifold. The reason why it's telling me it's non-manifold is because one aspect of something being non-manifold is that it has to be able to hold water. That's kind of one thing, right? As you can see, if water was poured in here, it's not going to hold it. The water's going to come right out, right? So this is the reason why it's not manifold, but it's kind of part of the deal when you're doing the mirror modifier. Here down here, we do have like a situation where it is there, but in fact, and so you can see if we were to delete this face, and we were to run this again, it'll tell us that that's also non-manifold. But if we were to turn on a mirror modifier, it looks good, right? And so, yeah, I'm not too worried about those as a non-manifold problem, but I wanted to work through that and make sure that was good to go. So let's get back here and let's do that. And let's keep our mirror modifier for now. All right, good deal. So, hey, we made it so far. That's pretty cool. So let's see if we can't, this looks very similar to this down here, right? Maybe it's just scaled down a tiny bit. But it honestly doesn't even look that scaled at all. It honestly just looks like the sides are just a little shorter. So let's see if we can do this. Let's click on our item that we have so far, and let's see if we can just duplicate it, right? So let's go to select all. There we go. And let's duplicate it. You can do Shift D. I think you might be able to right click here. No, it doesn't look like you can right click there, but you should be able to go to mesh and then duplicate like that. But for myself, I already have a duplicate button, which is right here. So I'm going to duplicate this. All right, pretty cool. So let's see here. Yeah, I think that looks good. And I'm going to actually constrain it to just drop it along the Z-axis because I want it to be perfectly aligned, as best I can at least. And then what I'm going to do, let me just see what happens if I scale this thing down. Yeah, it looks doesn't quite look like the original picture, so that's not going to work. So what we've got to do, it seems, what we've got to do is, and then let's bring this thing up to where the G more closely aligns with this situation. With the Z. Let's do this. Move that there. That's perfect. And then what we want this thing to do is we want it to be the same exact kind of size. It really looks like it just needs to be shortened right here a little bit, and then everything else would kind of fall in place. So let's see how we can do that. Let's see. And also I see here that it's not quite aligned here. So let's go to undo. That way we're selecting everything again. And then we're going to see about the situation right here. I'm going to try to get it kind of like just perfectly in the middle, best that I can. That's probably better. And now we've got to figure out how to get this thing just to be a little bit shorter. So I think what we can do here is, let's see if we can, we've got the X-ray mode powered on, as it were. Let's see if we can just grab these. Let's go to G and let's constrain it to the Z. Oh, that worked out really well. All right, very good. And now we're going to do the same thing over here. So let's grab all of these. And remember, we have X-ray mode enabled, or else you're only going to grab the side that you can see. And we're going to move those, and we're going to constrain it to which axis? The Z axis, so we can get that going. All right, looking good so far. Let's see our creation in all of its glory so far. All right, interesting. And of course, you got to go into object mode to really get a good vibe for it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like how this gray situation is going. I just not a big fan of that. Instead, what I like to do, I like to give it some fun, right? So how about the color be random? And let's see here. And instead of this very boring situation here, let's do. You can do kind of fun stuff like that. You can change it like that. Let's see here. Random. That looks good so far. And essentially, this is going to give you a different color for every new object you create. Ours are the same because we're creating them inside of edit mode, so it's just adding to the object. But pretty cool, right? Not too bad at all. And then, like I said, you can even go even fancier with it, which is pretty fun. But I think it might be a little easier to kind of, to see what you're working with if you kind of keep it like that. So that looks pretty good. All right, let's see. Let's keep going here. All right, we're doing great. Keep this going here. All right, now let's keep working on our model. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to make this this sort of cross pillar situation. But before we do that, here's what we can do as well, is we can actually go ahead and duplicate some of these. Make sure I have X-ray mode turned on, and let's do this. Let's duplicate this, and then let's bring it down. So remember Shift D, or you can also do duplicate right here, and you can always see how to do it with. It'll actually just tell you what to do with the, right here, Shift D, for example. And in my case, I'm going to go ahead and do my pre-programmed little button here. I'm going to constrain it to the Z axis. We're going to bring that down and make it match right there. Very good. And then we'll do the same with this other object here. Make sure I got it all selected, which I don't. All right, very good. And then we'll go Shift D down there too. Here we go. I'm constraining to the Z. See how this looks. Not great. Let's do. Let's bring that up a little bit, shall we? Make it a little more even. That looks good. And yeah, I feel like down here too could use a little work as far as just kind of aligning it just a little more closely with our Z axis. I'm sorry, with our original object here. There. That's probably good. All right, very good. And so now what we can do is, I noticed that the logo on the top and the logo in the middle are about the same width and so forth. So I don't think it would be too crazy if we were to kind of use this as a template, right? Kind of recycle the work the best that we can. So let's see if we can do that here. Very good. And so what we want to do is we want to duplicate this. So I've duplicated it. Now, one thing I've got to do is I've got to rotate that thing. So which axis do I want it to rotate around? Well, this is where looking up at that gizmo in the top right kind of really helps me. I always imagine like if it was like a kind of like an axle. It was like an axle. Then I would know to spin around that particular axle. So when I look at that gizmo, I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, this looks like a Y situation. So you want to constrain it to a rotation. So for me, that would be this one. And I want to constrain it on the Y axis, which for me is this one. We should. Let's see here. Let me undo. Actually, I can probably mess them back out. Okay. For some reason, why is it not wanting to rotate properly along the Y? Let's see. Rotate along there's the Z, there's the X. For some reason okay. To be honest with you, I'm not sure why it's not rotating properly. It's probably because I have the mirror modifier turned on. Let's see what happens if I were to rotate this thing along the Y axis. Yeah, let me see. Maybe it's because I have clipping turned on. Let me see if that does it. That was my problem. All right, so I figured it out. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this. So we're gonna go over here and make sure that when you do rotating with, when you're gonna rotate, don't make sure that clipping is turned on, because it will kind of constrain it to this part and give you some really weird, results. So like, for example, if I were to rotate, which you can do R, and say I were to, or actually let me put the clipping back on, if I were to try to rotate this and I were to constrain it to the Y, because remember it's kind of like this spoke, see how it kind of is sticking at the top? The problem is because its clipping is turned on. So make sure you turn that off, and we're going to rotate this, and we're going to rotate it around the Y, which in this case it's kind of constrained there already. And in order to get it to rotate kind of perfectly, we can hold down Control and do it, and it will give us a nice rotation situation. So let's bring that down, and that looks good right there. And now what we want to do is let's just go ahead and make sure that our X-ray is turned on, and we're just going to go ahead and bring this down further. We're going to constrain it to a Z-axis. There we go. That looks good right there. Went a little too far. Bring this back up just a little bit. There we go. Now, remember, kind of like what we did up here, is we have to create something down here that will basically make a face here and a face here so that those two can connect. And that right there is our lovely, dovely loop cut. So let's go ahead and add a loop cut there. And we're going to need one up here too, right? Because, yeah, this is getting interesting. So let's go ahead and add a loop cut. Let's see, right here. And we'll put that loop cut where that's going to be right there. And then we'll add another loop cut, which is going to be right here, because we're essentially going to be removing that part, right? Which is pretty interesting. And then we're going to add another loop cut down here, which will be there. Perfect. And then we'll add another loop cut here. And again, there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so, and then also we might as well go ahead and add another loop cut here, because we're going to have to be going across here. So yeah, so far so good. There we go. And so now what we want to do is we're going to go to face select mode, and I'll select that face right there, and I'm going to bring that face over to this face, and let me go ahead and turn on, I want it to snap to the vertex of this particular one. And so let's see what happens when we do that. Let's do that. Let's constrain this to the X. Pardon me, I made the fatal mistake of not extruding. I was trying to move the entire thing. So let's just extrude this. And yes, it did do that. And then I forgot to turn on snapping, so I can actually just hold control, and it'll snap, and whatever settings you have up here, which right now we have snap to vertex. So, and then let's just make sure that, remember when I mentioned you can have like overlapping vertices that they don't merge and it causes problems. So let's go into vertex mode. Let's select all by pressing A. And then we want to go ahead and merge those vertices. So you can do that. And again, we're going to merge by distance. We removed 2 vertices. Make sure that distance is big enough. Sometimes you can crank it up just a little bit to see. As long as you're not getting into distortions, you're good to go, generally speaking, right? As soon as you crank it up too much, that's a problem. That's too big of a merge. And I think removing 4 vertices makes sense, so we'll keep it there. And that looks good. So, and then the next thing we need is we need to delete these right here. So let's see if we can just select those, and then let's just delete those edges. All right, looking good, guys, looking good. All right, guys, so I forgot to put the loop cut right here too, so let's go ahead and do that. And I'll do this every now and then just to kind of show you that. Let me cancel this one. Escape, press escape, and get out of this. Okay, and then also, let's say you place the loop cut right here and you need it up here and you've already kind of placed it. You can actually, I believe it's double G. Double G will allow you to select that loop cut. There we go. Okay, and then, yeah, it looks good so far. I just want to make sure it didn't, just want to make sure this loop cut, the whole thing came up perfect. All right, let's go back here and let's just keep going. I'm actually going to, what I want to do is, I do want this to come up a little bit further. Just constrain it to the Z-axis. Don't worry too much with the beveling situation here. We will bevel it to our heart's content when the time comes. So let's bring this, and remember, we do have a mirror modifier applied, but not yet. We're not going to worry about that. We're not going to see the implications of that until we get to the center here. So let's bring this over here. We're going to, remember, if we try to just bring the whole thing over, it's going to bring over the bottom part too. So we don't want to do that. We want to extrude it, and we want to extrude it along the X-axis. And in fact, in order to make things a little quicker, I'll show you here in a bit. Let me extrude this one to E to extrude. I'm going to extrude it along the X-axis here. There we go. And so, and again, it looks like here we need what? A loop cut. Yes, correct. We're getting the hang of this. All right, we'll do it here too. There we go. That looks good. Now what we want to do is let's extrude this all the way down. At this point, I feel like we're getting the hang of this. Let's do this. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit, undo that, and extrude. And what I want to do is I want to turn on my snapping because I want it to be even with this one, right? So let's extrude. We're going to do this. And then there. Now we know that this one's going to be even with this one. And that's what you want. That's what you want. Let's put another loop cut in here because we're going to have to kind of go over here and make it even with that one, which is perfect. And let's do the same up here. We're going to extrude it, lock it to the Z, put it up here. We'll add the loop cut in there. perfect. And then we'll do that. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but I feel like you're getting the hang of it. And that's a beautiful thing. So we're going to select this edge again. And again, make sure you have on this turned on because you want it to select both of those edges. And make sure that's been happening to us. Oh boy. Oh boy. You can see how we've only done the one edge. So that's going to require us to go and do some back work here. So let's go to undo. You can also, instead of just doing it like this, the problem for me is I wasn't selecting all. You see, when I thought I was selecting both of these, but I was just selecting the one in the front. So that's okay. Let's go back to the situation here. And I think our best bet is going to be to select the face. And actually, this is what I want to show you earlier, but you can do, if I select both of these faces and then I were to extrude those, now you can kind of work a little bit faster. We're going to extrude it along the X situation here. And because this is our first time, we actually don't have anything to snap it to. So I'm going to turn off snapping by, oddly enough, pressing control, because just like you can turn snapping on by pressing control, if snapping is turned on up here, you can press control to turn snapping off. So hopefully that's not confusing. So I'll come over here and I'm going to add a loop cut here. And again, make sure to turn snapping off the best that you can. But now down here though, I don't mind having snapping on because we actually have something to snap it to. So let's add that loop cut here and then let's snap it to that one up there. There we go. So let's keep going here. So make sure we didn't make that same mistake. Okay, looking good. Looking good. Here we go. So let's head on back over here. So let's make sure to select the face mode again. And this time I can't select this face mode simultaneously because one's going down and one's going up, and that would just be kind of weird. I'm sure I could do something with the normals, but that's just getting too complicated. So, and let's extrude this one down. In fact, I might just be able to take, let me see. Not the G problem again. So it has to be extrude. And then let's take it down here with the Z situation. And actually we'll be able to snap it just like that. That's perfect. And let's do the same up here. And we're going to select that face and we're going to extrude it. And it looks like it's already snapping to the Z, which is good for us. And let's just double check, make sure it's not doing that weird thing again. Perfect. All right, so yeah, selecting face makes it to where you're less likely to actually only select one side because there's only one face. Whereas when you're dealing with this situation, there's two edges, the edge that you see on this side and the edge on the other side. And you just got to hope that you're selecting both of them. And I'd rather just select one face and just know for certain that it's doing what I want it to do. So let's do a loop cut there. And let's go back to face select mode here. I selected this face. There we go. And we're going to extrude this along the X. There's nothing really to snap it to, so you can hold control. That way you don't just get kind of messed up there. And it looks like we kind of made a little mistake here. There. Let's get rid of that. So the mistake that we made, quote unquote, or I should say happy accident. According, that's a Bob Ross thing. It's like there's no mistakes, there's just happy accidents, and I love that. So what we're getting to here is we want to be able to see our mirror modifier because that's where these things are going to be coming together, right? So we're in a situation where these two things are about to be coming together. So let's do some clipping here because we do want these to come together. And so we'll do an extrude and we'll extrude it along the X value. And there we go. And we'll do the same for up here. Let's make sure that we have the face selected. I want to make sure I didn't mess that up down here. Make sure that both edges were selected. Okay, that's good. That's perfect. And so we've got this going on for us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this and I'm going to extrude it along the X again. And perfect. There we go. All right, guys. So let's get rid of this X-ray mode so it's a little more clean. Wow, how about that, guys? Look what we've been able to create. That's pretty cool. All right. So let's go back into, now we have to create, I think this thing's pretty cool just by itself, huh? I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll save this one. We'll call this logo, just logo. Okay. See how it changes colors? I love the different colors that you can do when you do the thing that we did earlier. What we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this one, and then we will call this one, we will call it logo, and this will be with words, okay? Because now we're about to figure out how to add the words into it. Okay, so let's go back into our orthographic mode here. And what we want to do here is we want to add these words, right? So this should be pretty straightforward. Kind of come over here and you want to add some text. Okay, now let's see where did our there we go. All right, whoops. All right, guys, so what we want to do is we want to come over here and we want to add some text. As you can see, it added it along this situation right here, which honestly is probably how we should have done our situation the whole time. That's no problem. All we have to do really is we can take this thing and we can rotate it remember my analogy of like kind of the axle. So I know that this is the axle of the X, and that's where I want to rotate it over, and I want to go 90 degrees with it. So you can do a rotate, you want to go X with it, and then you want to go type in your 90 degrees, and there we go. And now you've got the thing kind of where it should be. And in fact, we want to do the same thing here too. I actually have a little shortcut that I can press right here. And let's see, that should be the same as the situation. Actually, I want to rotate it along the Y to 180 degrees so that it matches up nice and perfectly. In fact, we want to do the same thing here. We want to rotate this sign so that we want to rotate it along the, let's see here, we want to rotate this along the X-axis, and we want to go 180 degrees. There we go. It's perfect. And so now we've got a situation where, okay, that looks good. And we will bring this thing, bring it just, should be able to bring it, constrain it to the Z. And for some reason, oh, I see, I have snapping turned on, but that shouldn't be causing me too much of a problem. Constrain it to the Z. For some reason, it's not wanting to constrain to the Z. There's something about these empties which is just really, really weird. Let's see if I can't. And then bring it, just bring it up and keep it nice and simple. Let's see here. I think that looks good right there. So there we go. Now we have our text situation figured out. Let's go over here into edit mode, right? Let's type out our words, Christian, and then we'll do space, 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 and then error addition. And let's head back in here to object mode, and then we'll kind of bring these over here. Now I will say that this is not the correct font that I'm looking for. So let's see if we can control what. We'll see about. Let's see what we got as far as fonts are concerned. Let's see here. We go over here, and here's our fonts. I want it to be. Do you have particular fonts that you can choose? Sometimes, guys, you actually don't have access to. Particular, or I should say not sometimes, but you actually don't have particular fonts kind of native to Blender, and so you've got to go and download a font that you want to use. So in our case, what I want to do is I want to download this one called Playfair Display, right? So let's see if we've got some Google fonts here. All right, whereas disregarding contempt for human rights have resulted. Got it. I would like to, you can get the different kind of versions of it. I want to get this font. I want to download it. All right, and it's in a zip file. So what you want to do is you have to download the font onto your computer. And so here we go. I downloaded the font from Google Fonts. I'm gonna double click this thing to unzip it. All right, so here we go. We've got some situations going on here. And so the next thing that we need to do is you want to go ahead and install it. All fonts. All right, guys. And so once you have your font downloaded on a Mac, you have to go up to Finder, and then you go into your library, and then that's where you can find the font, which is this right here. And you're supposed to restart your Blender file. So let's make sure that we save it, because that would be a shame if we lost it, right? We want to save that. And organization is just so important, and I've been trying to get better at it. The problem with organization is the struggle with organization, I should say, is that there are some things that you use just within a particular project. There are some things that you use across multiple projects. So do you organize by project? Do you organize by asset itself, etc.? And not just within Blender, but also like After Effects projects and so forth. So I'm definitely a work in progress on this one. So anyway, I'm going to turn this off, and then I'm going to restart Blender. And the best thing is that it's still here, thank God, right? So let's see here. All right, guys, so whichever you're looking for, you come over here and you go to this folder right here. And you're going to want to look into wherever it is. I think for my case, it's almost kind of, all right, guys, so it's a little confusing trying to find it. But what I did is I just pulled up, any file, and then I actually took it from my Finder and brought it in here. I just dragged it over there, and then it came up. So here we are. We've got the font now. Okay, and that's good. And then we'll do the same thing here. Okay, it looks good so far. All right, and the rest of this stuff is just kind of making it work, right? So what I want to do is, that looks a little weird right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, guys, so as you can see, in our particular situation, the E was kind of crazy, and then the D, we were able to kind of fix it up pretty well, where you couldn't really tell, but even if you look at it in a certain light, you can see some artifacts going on here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do some problem solving. So, but that's nothing new for the 3D artist. So Also, what I wanted to show you is, so there could be a couple of reasons why the font is looking weird. It could be with the font itself. This is the most common issue apparently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head on over to, I'm just going to see if we can find a font that we can download. The one that I got was from Google Fonts. Let's see what else we've got here. And that was the one that gave me some trouble. There are some other, there are some different, you know, you can get like regular, medium, semi-bold, bold, extra bold, and the list goes on, etc. Let's see what else we've got. You got a type tester, I think it's specimen they call it. So I could try, instead of doing like the medium or the regular 400, let me see which one that I did. And then mine was called the Playfair Display Regular, which seems basic here. There's also a medium though, and let's just see. So just so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. Let's see here. So the original one that I downloaded was this regular situation, and that's where we get some of those artifacts and hours. But let's see what happens if we, I want to get this regular one. So it says get font. You can download all apparently. It says one font family selected. Let's see here. I wonder if I'm able to use a different font. I think I am. I think it downloaded the entire family when I downloaded mine. So maybe we'll try, like, I'll tell you what we can do. We'll go into where we downloaded our font. And in my case, you know, wherever the families are stored, here we go. We got some fonts going on here. And let's see. Oh, we got a lot of different fonts here. Let's see if we just typed in the name of the font. Because basically the thing is that some fonts are not great for Blender. Let's see what comes out with the display. And then the extension for fonts is, what were the extensions? It was something like .jtt or something like that. Let's see if I can find what the extension was, and that way I might be able to search by extension as far as fonts are concerned. Let's see here. Okay, that's a .css. That's not what I was looking for. I did see some. Oh, here we are. .ttf. So maybe if I did a .ttf, it will kind of search it, and I'm looking for my particular font that I'm interested in is this Playfair Display. Okay, here we go. Now this is the one I downloaded from Google, but I wonder if I just went like just Playfair Display Black, if I could put that one into Google. So let me remember the extensions here. Downloads, Playfair Display Static, Playfair Display. Okay, so definitely want to get you guys back into Blender here, and let's just see if let's see here. So what we want to do, remember, we have to go to Add, and we want to add the text up here. And in order to edit the text, remember, I'm gonna bring up my on-screen keyboard because I like it. So in order for us to change this text here, we have to go into the edit mode, which you can do up here. And then I'm going to type in, you know, for me, Christian Erudition. Okay, there we go. And now let's see. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Let's see what happens with the font situation. See if we can figure this out. So I did mine. I think it was from this one that we said, and then it was, what was the name of that font? I've already forgotten the extension that we saw, but I can bring it back up here. It was downloads beginning, and then it was the name itself, which is Playfair Display. There we go. All right, and then static. All right, let's see if this one can just be a little more, just work out for us a little bit better. Let's see. That's terrible, right? Let's Control Z that. It's not working out for us. Let's see if maybe there's another type of Playfair Display that could work out for us. Whoops. That's the hope, right? So let's see if we can do that. Go back over here, open font. All right, and I'm wondering too if like the type of font that you have, if you need to make sure that it's in the proper category. Like this one says regular, bold, italic. Like, do you need a regular? Can you upload a bold inside of regular? Maybe that's the problem, but I don't know. Let's see what's going on here. So if I were to go back to where I know that I'm looking at, which is the Playfair situation. Let's see here. This is the regular static. I'm going to do the Playfair Display Black. Let's just see what happens here. It's still messing up this E, right? That's not good. So we're gonna have to do a little more investigation into how to solve this problem. Instead of doing it through Google Fonts, let's see if there's another situation where we can go through and it'll give us the fonts that we're looking for. So let's see if I can bring you guys back up to what I'm looking at. Let's see, what is this font download? Playfair Display Font Family. Okay, Sorensen. The name kind of looks familiar. Was that the same guy as the one from Google? I'm not sure, but Here we go. We don't want to download the extension. I want to download the font. And I am on a Mac, which is good. Let's see what happens if I download this one. Okay, I downloaded it, and I'm going to unzip it. See what we get here. Play fair display. It looks suspiciously familiar. I hope that this works. So we'll do this, and then we're going to exit out of that real quick. Then we're going to head on over to the downloads that just happened today. I don't like how this thing is. There we go. That's better. And I also want it to be by date modified. There we go. All right, so play fair display. Here we go. We'll go for the regular since we said that was the one that we're doing regular. Wow, guys, look at this. It worked. Okay, so lesson learned here. When you're dealing with text, it is very good to, if you're having text issues, that it's oftentimes just like the particular file that you downloaded, and then that's all there is to it. There's nothing more there, So let's see if we can get our text realigned. Obviously, we're gonna have to make the space a little bit bigger. It's tricky to know exactly how much we're gonna need, but the good news is that we've got the right font going on. And also, let's go back and turn up our logo, the reference image for right now, and then let's bring this down to where it matches relatively close. That way we get that in position. And then let's see here. So one thing I noticed is that those words are definitely scaled more. And so we can do that with ours. So let's head on over here to edit mode. Let's keep it in object mode. And then we're gonna scale this thing, and we want to scale it along the X-axis. So let's constrain it to the X, and then let's just kind of scale it. That's looking pretty good. It looks almost like a little bit bigger than this one. Maybe we can scale it down just a little bit on the Y-axis as well. Let's see how that works out for us. I'm kind of just looking at the end, on the very end of both the words, to kind of like give me like a visual of what kind of looks right. Now that we have that done, let's bring this over. And yeah, definitely a little too close. So we're gonna have to go back into edit mode, and we'll see what we need to do. The Christian part still looks, it still looks like it's not correct. The erudition also looks too big. So let's see if we can scale this just a little bit more along the X here. Sorry, I actually did cheat. I'm gonna right click to cancel that. I'm gonna scale along the X here. And see, the problem here is we are actually scaling along this origin point. You see where the origin point is? And so when we scale that way, we're having to keep like editing it, moving it back. What if we move the origin point to the center of this? So that might be something I think could help us. So let's see here. Let's set the origin to the geometry. Now when we scale, and we scale along the X, it might help us to kind of visualize this just a little bit better. That's looking pretty good. And then let's go back here. Let's do a little, do one of those, and then it won't let me. Okay, it's not letting me so we'll try to make it like that, and then we will move it. We're gonna do G, we're gonna constrain it to the X. That's pretty darn close, and that looks pretty good to me. We can probably raise it just a tiny bit, but honestly, it looks pretty good. We can actually let's go back to our reference here, make sure that what we see here is about even over here. We can go a tiny bit over, but honestly, anything more than this and also if you see it kind of bleeping like that, it's because it's trying to snap, because we have snapping turned on, so we can turn that off. I'm not too worried about it right now, but just so you know, that's what's going on there. Let's see here. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of our reference, and let's just kind of take a look at it. Oh, she's looking pretty good. So the next thing I want to do is I do want to make sure that these words are in the very center of this situation right here. So let's click here, and then let's move the origin to the geometry. Now, what's going to happen here, unfortunately, is because we have the mirror modifier going on, it's going to mess up what it looks like, because we just changed the origin. So that is a little problematic. Let's undo that, and let's see, maybe there's another way that we can do this without it messing up the mirror modifier. What we could do is we move the origin there. I think that's what we can do. So let's redo that move that we just made. Remove the origin there, and then what we're going to do with these letters is we're going to make them like kind of perfectly even right here. So let's see, even with this one right here. So I think that's probably good enough right there. So as of right now, you can tell that this is a flat image, and it's not even with the other part. What we can do here is, let's see. All right, so that's what we're working at right now. This is a whole lot further up. So actually we can bring this thing down to make it even with this. And so what we want to do is we want to snap it to this. So we're going to do a G, we're going to constrain that to the Z axis, and then we're just going to snap it to that part right there. And that way it's perfectly even. And as you can see, we have a 3-dimensional object, and these are still 2-dimensional. So let's fix that. So you head on over here to the text, And let's go over to the right side where you'll see the A indicating the text situation. Our resolution looks good. The higher the better the resolution, but obviously there's trade-offs because it takes more system power and so forth. What we want to do is we actually want to give this thing some shape, okay? And so we want to extrude it a little bit. And so what we can do here, let's look at our object here, and let's go up to the transform properties, and let's just kind of see what we're working with. The dimension is x 1 meter, z 1.81 meter. That's kind of, you know, it matters if you're trying to build a scene with it. For us, it's just a logo, so I'm going to keep everything I do want to keep everything pretty simple, if you will, in terms of trying to measure out everything. So right now, where is our origin point? Okay, it's on the bottom. That's perfect, because when we take the scale up, I wanted to go upwards this way, not downwards that way. So let's just make this really easy. What? Hold on. I think I did the wrong aspect to it here. Okay, so if I make this z dimension 2 meters, it looks like it's just kind of getting longer, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's actually getting taller. And so one of the things that we can do, just to be on the safe side, is let's go ahead and apply our scale. So you can do that up here. Apply the scale. Let's see. Apply the scale. Now you have all the ones here. And now let's just see. Maybe that was. No, that's not it either. I wonder what's causing the dimensions to be not correct here. I don't think it's the rotation, but it could be the rotation, because maybe we rotate it and now all of a sudden it's. Let's just do all transforms to be on the safe side. Okay, so now let's see what we're working with here as far as scale is concerned. Yeah. Okay, I don't think we want to scale that big, but that's pretty cool. So let's say that this scale is, we'll call it 6 feet. Well, still not that big. That's really big. Okay, we'll call it 1 foot. There. How's that? That's 1 foot? I feel like that's reasonable, 1 foot. Although it does look kind of clunky, doesn't it? But it's kind of cool. You can definitely tell it's 3D. Like, there's no sort of question about that. So we'll do the same with this situation here. So before we do anything else, we can go ahead and apply all the transforms that we've done to it so far, which, there we go. Oh, okay. Text objects can only have their scale applied text. Okay. Well, there you go. So let's go ahead and give this thing let's go ahead and give it some space, you know what I mean? Some depth, if you will. So we're going to make it the same size as this one. So if this one was 0.305 meters, we want this one to be 0.305 meters as well. But as you can see, it's doing it from its origin point, and it's just scaling both ways. Where is its origin point at? Here we are, right here. So what we could do instead is we could make sure that, although it's a two-dimensional thing, so I don't think an origin point really matters, but what we can do now is we can actually bring this up and make sure that it's even with this situation. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's grab that with a G, constrain it to the Z, and then let's lock it to, we've got it to where it's snapping to vertices, and so there we go. And so there you go. That pretty much is how you create, hopefully, what you think is a decent logo inside of Blender. I like it, and we're gonna keep going here, because we've got to do some stuff to it. We've got to make it turn colors and stuff, and give it some texture. So let's keep going there. Let's keep going. Okay, so also what I want to do is, I see there's like a couple of holes in my situation here, in our situation, that I would like to get corrected here, and that is not a good look, basically. And okay, here we are. Yeah, sometimes a little confusing. You're in mirror mode, or you have the mirror modifier, and you're like, wait, where's my vertices? It's on the side that you can still manipulate. So let me see if I were to select edge mode here, and I'm just gonna press F. Sometimes it just knows to fill it in. Like, it's just, you can just kind of see what you're trying to do there, and you don't have to select all the different corners of what you're working on. I'm gonna select F here to fill that in. And here's one more. Let's see if it gets, make sure I selected the right one. No, I didn't. That's a common pitfall, is like, you think that you selected one and you have not. You selected a totally different one. So here we go. This is our problem area. I don't know if you can see this, but we need this one to go down to this one down here. All right, and then we need this one to go up there. Okay, so I'm gonna take this vertex and I'm gonna extrude it all the way up to here. And then I'm getting lost here in the matrix. And then I'm gonna take this vertex and extrude this one just down Z, constrain it to Z. All right, now let's see if we've got a situation where we're able to make, let's just press F here. Okay, that looks good. And then we need to do it on the other side too. All right, hopefully that has closed in our gaps that we had. Looks good. We've got another gap here, people. See, it looks good. Make sure, can I see any gaps through here? Oh, that looks good. By the way, I'm using a 3D SpaceMouse from 3DX Connection. I'll show you guys a picture of that. Let's see here. All right, I'll show you guys a picture of this situation here. This thing right here, I just had the simple one. One of these days I want to get like the Mac Daddy. This one, the Enterprise. This guy right here is about $100 or something like that. I don't know, that can be expensive, but man, it has blessed me like crazy. I was getting like pain in my arm from 3D mousing. And this thing right here, it's amazing. There's like 6 degrees of freedom, so you can go up and back, left and right, up and down. So this is your mouse. I'm mousing with my right hand, and I'm also mousing with my left hand. Highly recommend it. It's been wonderful to me. I've got some stuff that I deal with as far as like bodily stuff when I'm doing 3D that kind of hurts and everything. So it's helped me a good bit. I still got some stuff I'm working through, but it's been great. And I mean, it just helps you to kind of look how smooth I'm able to like go in here. There's no like, I mean, this is flawless, you know what I mean? And I love it. I mean, you'll hear different opinions about it on the internet, but I like it a lot. So anyway, all right, so let's keep going here. I think that for this particular situation that we're dealing with, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And, I'm just going to show you guys how to do applying some basic materials. So for this one, let's make sure that everything's been applied. It has not. I'm going to go ahead and apply all the transforms. I feel good about it. How about with this one? No, it has not. I'm going to apply all the transforms to this one. All right, that's good to go. Oh yeah, that's right, because it doesn't really apply here. I don't really even think there's a place to apply transforms on here. But anyway, that works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some material. So I'm going to go into the right side. You'll see something that looks like almost like a radioactive. I always think it looks like just like a red ball. This is your materials. We want to go ahead and add a new material here, and then we'll go into edit mode here. Let me just double check something. So add a new material to this cross column in the middle. My computer is struggling. Okay, so let's apply material to this. So my base color, let's see, maybe like an off-white, just slightly off-white, just a slightly off-white. Okay, let's go ahead and go into material preview mode up here too, so we can kind of see what we're doing here. So I don't like, that's almost like a yellow. I want it to be just if this is completely white, I want it to be just ever so slightly there. The roughness, I think I do want it kind of rough, like kind of give it, not all the way rough, but just kind of give it like a little roughness vibe there. Also, I do think that we should bevel it just a tiny bit, so I'll show you. You do want to come in here and you want to select all of the edges to which you want to apply your bevel. And of course for us, that would be every part, because we just want the whole thing just beveled just a little bit. Once you have them selected, you go up here to bevel. And of course you're going to get this crazy situation. Now the key here is to changing the limit method. You want to change the limit method to weight. And then you come over here, and if you press N, you can pull up the side panel. And that's when you can begin to distinguish how much beveling takes place here. And then you can kind of go back through here and add the amount that you want. That looks pretty good there. Let's see, we can offset this. Come back here, because I'm just wanting just a little bit of bevel there. How's that look? See how artifacty it gets. That's not too bad. And now what we can do is we can do like a shade smooth option on this. And let's see how I just wanted a little subtle bevel. And now let's do a shade smooth and see how this looks. That looks really good. A little artifacty looking in certain places, isn't it? Definitely a little artifacty. All right, so it's a little artifacty. Let's see what happens if we were to add a subdivision surface modifier now. And let's make sure that the subdivision surface modifier is on the bottom of the bevel. Kind of took care of those artifacts pretty well. It just kind of takes an average of everything and kind of does its thing. Let's see what happens if we increase this bevel. Let's go back down just a tiny bit here. And then let's see if we can't mess with this situation here. All right, let's see how this is looking. Let's go back out here to object mode. Not too bad. I think we could do a little bit better than that. Let's see the amount. Measure the amount. Segments. Getting a little high up there. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. You don't want to be too crazy with it. It could crash your machine if you're not careful with too much beveling. All right. I'd say that looks pretty good. I think this situation right here, I'm trying to figure out what's causing this sort of artifact right there. I don't know if it's because it's where it is a little artifacty, isn't it? Right there. But overall, it looks pretty good. And then we also want to add a little bevel to our text as well. Like I said, what we've discovered inside of the text situation is pretty much anything that you want to do inside here, you got to go here. It doesn't work the same way as everything else. So let's see, where's our option for beveling this? Okay, here's a little bevel situation right here. If we were to, that gets pretty wild pretty quick, doesn't it? I just want a very small bevel. Let's see. Let's see what like a 0.001 did. Let's see how that's looking. Okay. Let's do a 0.001. Okay, we're getting something going there. How about a 0.01? Well, let's see if we can. Are we able to shade smooth a text? Let's see here. I don't know. I don't know if we're able to do a shade smooth on a text situation. Every time I seem like I build a text, it's very different from everything else. I don't think. Are we able to add a bevel modifier to it? Let's see. Doesn't seem like it's doing anything to our bevel, does it? See if we can get by with the same situation with the weight. Go in here, and then, whoops. Accidentally pressed the A button. Let's go in here and go back over here. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's definitely beveled pretty well. Is it pretty smooth looking? I mean, it's interesting, that's for sure. I'm trying to see if adding more seems to do anything on here. Not really. I'm gonna right click and set this back to the default value. Let's go one segment. All right, oh, that's right, because I'm in angle here. So I gotta change that for this to be efficacious. Let's see, I'm gonna turn this down. All right, let's see a little bit more. Turn this up just until it looks decent. That's looking pretty bad there, isn't it? Turn all that down. Don't want to make it look like a Nintendo 64 game. But I think for all intents and purposes, seems like it's decent. I wonder if I have to kind of come through here and select everything. I wonder if that's how this is, if that's how this works here. Remember, we got kind of like two bevel situations going on. We've got our modifier, and we have the one that's kind of native inside of the situation. What if we turn up our resolution? All right, that's just unnecessary. Set this back. I think that might be about the best that we can do. Let's see without it. I almost feel like without it is almost just as good. Then we come over here. I don't even think the shade smooth thing does anything. Okay. So this might be good enough for our purposes. I think it'll be good enough for the situation. Let me see if we want it with or without the bevel. I'd say without it, honestly. Okay, that looks good. Now that we got that figured out, we do have a little artifacty situation going on here. I'm trying to diagnose it here. We actually, now that we've applied the mirror modifier, we really don't need these ones in the middle. I mean, so yeah, it's gotten a little bit dark over here, but yeah, it seems like, you know, these middle ones are kind of redundant. And so what I can do is hold down Alt and left click around here, and it should be able to delete these middle ones, because I get concerned that it's causing artifacts that is unnecessary. I tried to dissolve the edge, and all right guys, so welcome back. And we left off, I was trying to dissolve or get rid of these artifacts on here, which we can keep doing. We have this loop selected, which you can do by pressing, should be able to press escape here. Let me do some undoing here. I think I might accidentally created some, I'm doing my undo history situation here. Let's just go to the original. Okay, yeah, the original. I'm gonna bring this one back to the center. Transform. We're gonna type in our 0, which I can do right here. Center, there we go. Looks good. Like I said, my concern was that this looked a little bright through here, which gets me a little concerned that that there's something going on with it. Yeah, just something's just not quite right. So we're gonna see if we can diagnose this and solve it. So let's head on into edit mode, figure out what's going on. We really don't need these middle loop cuts. So I want to select the entire loop cut. Let's see here, not just holding shift, but actually I held control down. That didn't really do the trick either. Let's see here. Looks like it's Alt Option. Let's see here. So yeah, if you do Alt Option, you can select the entire loop cut. And then I tried to do the dissolve edge. I'm just going to do the delete edge, which kind of what we get when I did that. And then now it's just a matter of putting up some. The reason why I've seen these artifacts is because we've got some modifiers on. It's going to mess that up until we can get some more geometry going for us. And I'm seeing here something kind of interesting. I think this might be because of the modifier. Again, I'm going to turn it off in edit mode. And yeah, and I think that's why you're getting, like, it almost looks like we have two edges going on, but I don't think that's it. And then yeah, this was all a result of using our mirror modifier. You can see we have like a little vertex in the middle here that needs to be dissolved because we don't need it. It's going to cause us some non-manifold geometry. I'm wondering if there's a quicker way for us to kind of delete almost this entire section right here, because this is going to be kind of painstaking if we have to go through here and do it like vertex by vertex. So let me undo what we originally had done, which was to delete the edges there. And I'm wondering if we can do maybe like this, like select all the vertices, go into X-ray mode. I'm okay with leaving on the modifiers right now, but let's just see what would happen if we were to go through here, select all those, and then press delete the vertices. You're gonna get yourself an interesting looking situation here. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Truly, like it wouldn't be that difficult to remodel this. I think the fundamental problem we ran into was like when you use the mirror modifier, and it just kind of left those artifacts in the middle. Wasn't great. Let me undo that just to see what we were working with. Okay, yeah. So not exactly sure why we were getting those artifacts, but another option, because really they you know, I mean, they merge in the middle, and I'm just doing my best to try to speculate as to what's getting those artifacts right here. It doesn't look great. I think for our purposes, what we can do here is just, you know, we can go through and just do some remodeling, but it would be nice to figure out what actually was driving, what's driving the situation. Like, is it not on the same, like it almost looks like these are kind of elevated just slightly, right? So maybe one thing we could do before we try anything else is, let's look at it from an orthographic view. I'm gonna go ahead and hide our text for now. I'm going to bring up the vertices here, make sure that we've got our X-ray mode selected. Let's select all these vertices, and what we're gonna do is we're going to try to, because it just looks like it's slightly elevated in certain parts, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna scale this along the Z, and we're gonna make it at 0. And so what this does, it's gonna make sure it's just completely flat. So S to scale, and then we're gonna constrain it to the Z axis, right? Perfect, and then we're going to put 0 there. We don't want any scaling going on there. Okay, so I just did it to 0, press enter, and now let's see if that made any difference for us. See if it kind of, no, not really. It didn't do anything. So I'm trying to figure out why we get the artifacts. So, all right, so one thing I'm gonna try is I'm gonna select all my vertices. We're gonna do the merge by distance again. Let's see here. Select all my vertices. We're gonna do a merge by distance. There we go, the merge by distance. Okay, we've got zero vertices removed so far. Okay, that one removed 14 vertices, but I think that's a problem. Is we don't want it to merge by that much, right? Let's do 0.01 is too much, so if we do 0.001, okay, nothing happened there. Let's do 0.009. We removed 12 vertices, but don't think it was for the best because it kind of merged them right here. That's too much. How about 0.007? So I don't think it's a merge vertices situation. We're gonna try our other handy dandy solution, which is we want to flip our normals. So let's recalculate outside, make sure all the normals are facing outward. Doesn't look like that did anything. Let's see here. Let's actually go into, let's go see what we're working with here. Okay, so I know it's a little hard to tell, but I'm just gonna delete this face for now. I could hide it, but I don't mind deleting it. So we can see, okay, I think that might be our issue. Okay, yeah, we've got some internal faces. I think that is causing our issue. So let's delete this face here. And let's bring this face back. Let's select the edge here. Press F, get that face back. And let's check all. No longer a non-manifold geometry. So that's our problem here, guys. So let's go in here and let's delete these walls. Select that one. We're gonna do a shift select so we can select multiple. There's another one. All right, guys, we learned together. Shift select that wall. Okay, perfect. And then let's right click. We're going to delete those faces. Doesn't look like anything changed, but non-manifold edges are a lot less. And then down here, we just have to do the same thing. So that's pretty interesting, right? And we actually might be able to see it better. Just do an X-ray mode. Not gonna be able to really click it better, but it actually could make things worse. We can do wireframe. But I think our best bet is just to do it in the similar way that we were doing it. Just go through here and click this one. We're scrolling to the right. Is that another one right there? No. No, we clicked the wrong one there anyway. Okay, there we go. There's one right there. Shift select that one. Shift select this one. Did I miss one? Probably. But we'll go ahead and, I think it's right in here. Oh yeah. My mouse was wigging out on me a little bit. Okay. And there's one right here, just right there. I think so. Okay, so we'll right click. We're gonna delete those faces. All right, now let's see what we got. She's gorgeous. Just beautiful. So thankful for that. We figured it out, guys. High five. All right, so just bring our words back. Cool. She's looking good. Looking really good. I'm just gonna add some basic materials to this. Nothing crazy. I want it to be like white. Let's see here, because typically I show this logo on a black background. You can pick whichever color you like. It's got the white. I want the roughness up. It's gonna make it look a little just kind of matte, if you will. We'll go into material preview mode so you can kind of get a better idea of what that looks like. Looks pretty cool. And then let me see here. Yeah, just my logo. Does this, yeah, I think it's applied to all of them. So that looks pretty good. And then what we want to do is we want to kind of record it so that it can kind of come in. And so what we're going to need is we're going to need a camera. So, and then we're also, I don't really think it matters kind of which way we go. I'm going to go from the top down. And so I kind of want the logo to, I kind of want the camera like, I'm going to make it kind of like that first. And then I want the logo to, I'm actually at this point going to have to join them together so that they can move simultaneously, because that's just how I want it to roll. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this one, because originally I called it logo with words, but it's just going to be logo just image there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate these, because, okay, let me Control Z that. I'm going to basically, I copied, and we can come out here and we can do a duplication. No problem. We have both those selected. I believe it's Shift D. You can move it, and then I'm going to right click to cancel the move. And then what I'm going to do is these are the duplicated images. So I'm going to underscore duplicate. I'm basically just renaming it so that I can keep up with everything. I have learned through all of my struggles with creating stuff that you just have to name everything and make sure to organize stuff the best that you can. I know it's hard, especially when you're in a hurry. You're like, I don't want to deal with this, but later on, it'll just always come back to bite you if you don't. So I'm just going to call them extras for now. Probably could call it duplicates as well. That'll work. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background. My background is going to be black, right? So I can add like just a plane, right? Let's go in here and just add a plane. There we go. And it obviously is not big enough yet for my background to cover up the background. So let's move this down just a little bit. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to constrain it to the Z. Grab it. Z, I don't know why it's not allowing me to. Oh, there we go. Let me undo that. Grab it, constrain it to the Z. For some reason, it's not moving according to the Z. I tried to, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong, because I'm thinking about it all wrong, so I gotta go with this. So I actually should constrain it to the Y, excuse me. I have to make sure you're aware of where you are in space and time. I think that's just good life advice. And so what I'm gonna do now is just scale this out. For me, I'm kind of looking at like a 1920 situation. Looks pretty cool, kind of. Yeah, it looks kind of cool if you're just kind of looking down at it like that. Almost looks like it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Engraved into it, which is pretty neat looking. But anyway, so I'm going to go a little bit bigger here. I'm not too worried about it there, as long as, like, you know, this thing is able to kind of come in and then like appear. I think I'm going to do like a small scaling, and it just kind of scales up and wobbles in, if you will. I'm going to go even a little bit bigger for the background, just so it has we have a lot to work with here. Okay, perfect. And then so the material that I'm going to apply, as I mentioned, I wanted like a black background, so I could do that right there. I don't want it to be this material. I want to add a new material, which is going to be this black background. Let's see here. The base color should be the black. There we go. Perfect. And then the roughness, I want it to be, I don't think it really matters that much, but what I want to do is this is the material that I want. So make sure my object is selected, and I want to assign this black material to it. And so let's head on back here. All right, cool. So far, so good. And what we want to do is when we're thinking about animation, we want to begin with the end in mind. And so what we can do is if my last shot is going to be, let's see here. I want my last shot to look something like that, right? So we have to figure out what that's going to look like as far as camera alignment and so forth. So if we look at it from the side view, our plane is just directly below, you know, the logo. So what we're going to do is we want to raise this thing. Yeah, let's think about it like this. So we've got the camera right here. You can just operate the camera just like you would any other kind of object inside of here. Let's get rid of the snapping situation. It looks like our camera is kind of pointed this direction and we want it to be straight down. So one way that we can do that is, let's see here. So we can transform the camera. We can also go into camera mode, and so we can kind of see with the camera seeing. And so there's a number of ways to see with the camera seeing. A lot of people do they press 0 on their numpad. If that's not working for you, which for some reason my on-screen keyboard is giving me problems, you can go to active camera, and now you can see what the camera sees, which in our case is not what we want it to see. So what I'm going to do is just mess with some of these settings right here. I can see it's like this, so what I want to do is I want to bring it up because I want it directly over my logo. And then let's see, we want to bring it to, let's rotate this thing just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. We also want to rotate it along the Y. I actually think it should be rotated along the X axis. There we go. All right, perfect. And then looking good so far. I want to make it just a little bit more where it's really at the center of the action, if you will. So let's see what this is looking like. Looking good so far, looking good. Let's go back into our camera view. Like I said, 0 on the numpad, that's not working. You can go this route too. I'm gonna get my numpad corrected here pretty soon, but yeah, so you can kind of see what the camera's framing. Looks like maybe the camera should go to the right just a tiny bit, so we can select that, and we're going to constrain it to X. Perfect, that looks good. And basically what we can do now is, let's look at it from this perspective. Let's see what we're able to get away with as far as how far can we go out. Let's go back into the active camera mode. That's a perfect ending shot as far as what we're trying to achieve. And so what you want to do down here is you want to put some keyframes. So we're going to do some basic animation here. And so we want to select our item. And then also I failed to mention that we do want to join these together because they're going to be doing the same exact thing. You can also parent them. So that what we do with one happens to the other. So first off, select the child, and then end with the parent, and then we're going to parent the object. Okay. Now that these are parented, and then also down here, we might need to, let's see here. We have the text action, object transform. Okay, nothing going on with the text. What about with this object here? Okay, so these are the various values here that are showing. This is for the text. So what we're gonna do is, what about for this one? Do we have some values here? Yeah, we do. Okay, so we should, because our parenting situation because our situation is pretty simple. This is the child, as it were. We're going to delete these. We're just going to delete all these keyframes. We shouldn't need them for this because they're parented. And then with this one, we're going to keep all those keyframes. Let's come back to 0, and we should be able to scale down. And yeah, because it's parented, everything should be affected by that. So let's go back here. And then we're going to do a 0 for the entire scale. Make sure that there are keyframes set. And so now if we kind of watch this situation come up, pretty cool. As you can see, and you can just, there we go, pretty cool. As you can see, what also is happening here is it's scaling forth from the point of origin, which is at the top of our object. But actually at this point we can move it to the center of geometry. So let's go ahead and change our origin for the logo, and then the origin to the geometry. And so now it should scale appropriately. We also now have to make sure that since we've made that change, we want to make sure that the camera is still aligned, which it's not. And so we can select the camera, and we want to move it. Here's our Y axis, so we just want to move it along the Y axis. There we go. Perfect. Let's see, is that the endpoint? Let's see here. I gotta make sure you go to the end of your endpoint. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I could probably go a little bit further up. Grab it here, just according to the Y. That looks pretty good. Yeah, pretty solid looking there. So yeah, so far so good. Let's see what we've got so far. All right, it looks pretty good. And so what I want to do now is I want to take this, and I don't want it just to kind of come into the scene, but I also want it to kind of do some kind of rotational things as well. So we're going to make sure that we are clicked on the parent object, which you can see it did create a parent object situation here. And so at 60, we're also going to, we didn't even need these location ones, but the rotation ones we do want. And so if this is where we want it to be, kind of what do we want it to rotate, you know, how do we want it to rotate. So from my perspective, I kind of want it to kind of just be wobbling kind of around. So let's just say we were to, there is some rotation when it comes to the X. We can do like, I don't want it to just be crazy, right? But I do want some rotation. So maybe we could do like let's just do like a 360 rotation. And then for the Y, we can do, see how it's getting cut off by our plane. We'll fix that because we're going to move where the plane comes in at. But we'll see if we can do maybe like a 180, kind of keep it simple. And then for the Z, we'll do like a 180 as well. And then what we'll do is we'll bring this back to here. Oh, we just canceled out all of our, but now that we know what that's going to look like, what we can do is we can do, I think we said 360, 180, and then 180. I could be mistaken about that, but let's see what, and it'll automatically put in these keyframes. So let's see what we get. Okay, didn't do anything. Let's see, we have the keyframe selected, but then at 60, there's also keyframe selected, but it's not really, nothing's really happening here. Oh, okay, so yeah, that's good. And then we'll do, yeah, let's see, 360 degrees there, 180 degrees there, and then we'll go 180 degrees there. And that should, maybe it's because we're at like a 0 scale, and that's the problem. Maybe, I think okay, so we'll do, and I'm going to insert that keyframe there, and then, yeah, put the keyframes there, and then actually, you can see where our keyframes are, which is super high up here. But actually, what we want to do is we want to move all these keyframes to the beginning, right? We don't, let's see here. So, up here, all right, let me cancel that out. I'm going to undo that situation. There. Let's go to the beginning. And we'll put there. I think it's just like a situation where I thought it was registering, but if you click it again, it'll like click off of what it was, and then it kind of like re-registers. So now it should, there we go. All right, let's see what we've got now with our situation here. That looks pretty cool. The only thing we have to do is just to make sure that our plane isn't cutting it off, and that's no problem. All we have to do here, select our plane, make sure it's selected over here, and in the outliner. And what we want to do is we want to move it down along the Z. So probably be best to look at it from this dimension, if you will. So we wanted to go negative Z. So let's grab that. Let's move this along the Z. And as long as it's, you know, no bigger than, you know, as long as this thing can perfectly get around it, I think that should be sufficient. So then let's go back into our camera mode, the active camera, and let's watch our animation again. Pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so that's pretty cool. I love that. Neat. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to take this cool animation that we've created, and I think the lighting on it's good enough for what I'm looking for. I don't think we need to add any lighting. Let's see what this is going to look like in rendered mode. This is what, like, the whole thing's going to, I was completely wrong. This definitely needs some better lighting here. So where is our current light at? Let's find out where this light is over here. So, and then let's bring it, and just change the radius of it. I meant to, let me just select the light. And then again, you can just kind of manipulate it like you do any other object. Let me see what this does for us. It's still pretty dark, isn't it? Let's see, look at it from this angle. Where's our light at? Okay, our light is shining this way. Let me see if we were to, not a rotation problem. It is a, yeah, you can already see it kind of lighten it up pretty good. And it's just a matter of how does it look? Let's go back and see that real quick. Let's watch our animation. Okay, so pretty cool. It's definitely pretty intense there in the middle, which is fine. And it's not really, it's just pretty indiscriminate. And so we want to bring this up. Let's go ahead and do that right there. And then we can also go into our light settings, and we can adjust the radius, for example. I wouldn't mind if let's just see what it looks like if you just sort of engulfed the whole thing. And let's watch our animation now. This is in rendered mode. That would probably honestly be sufficient for what I'm looking for, as far as my situation is concerned. But of course you can mess with these lights, you can manipulate it, you can change it however you want. You can turn the power up. So instead of 1,000, let's do like 20,000. And then let's see what we're working with here. Pretty cool. A little intense. So let's go 10,000. Let's go 5,000. I think 5,000 looks pretty good. And then we'll watch it again from the camera point of view. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And so now what we need to do is we need to make this into a video that we can export. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go over here into our render properties, and we want to make sure that we are rendering according to the frame rate that we want it to be. Okay, so now that we're preparing to export the scene, what we want to do is we want to kind of go in here and mess with some settings. So the frame rate that we're working with is we're going to do the 30-second frame rate. The resolution 1920 by 1080. Okay, so we need to choose our render engine. I think for our case, cycles should be sufficient. We'll probably go with the highest actually. The cycles looks good. We can also, as far as the render samples, this is a situation where we can just kind of play by ear to see which one looks better. Currently, so under our sampling setting, we can kind of tweak the settings, but kind of see which one's going to work the best for us. We definitely want to make sure that we have denoise selected, and depending on which denoiser you have access to, you want to use the best that you've got. So for our output settings, I want something that's going to kind of keep up with the times, if you will. So I'm going to go for a 4K output, especially because mine is pretty short, like just 2 seconds long, 2 or 3 seconds long. And so I want it to be 4K. So it's going to be the 3840, which would be the resolution of the X, 3840. And then I want my Y resolution to be 2160. And so the next part is you want to make sure you tell Blender where do you want to output the file to. And so for me, I have a particular spot on my desktop that I want to save it to, and I want to give it a particular name. For what we're doing, if you render out with a PNG, it renders out individual image frames, and it's good for high quality sequences. It can allow you to recover from crashes and do post-processing. But for a direct video, we're going to need a video container, and this is where the FF MPEG video comes in. So let's go ahead and choose that one. And so under the encoding, you want to choose MPEG 4 and H.264 is good for your video codec. It's standard, provides good quality or reasonable file sizes. And you can choose the quality that you want. For myself, it's pretty short. I'm going to go high quality with mine. You can also go as high as perceptually lossless. I think high quality should be sufficient for now. We don't have any audio in the scene. Keyframe interval is good, do 18 or 30. Now that we've gotten all our settings configured, we're going to render our animation. Now you can go up to the top and render animation up here, or you can do the Control F12. And I think for our purposes, instead of rendering in 4K, I'm just going to do the 1920 by 1080. And so I would like to cancel this render. So I press X to cancel the escape to cancel the render. Then I'm going to get rid of this render mode situation here. And let's go back out. Let's go back to our output settings. And let's keep it simple so that we don't take all day. All right. And let's do the Control F12. Excuse me, Command F12. If you have that. If not, you can go to render animation. And one mistake that I made is I left other objects into my animation so I'm going to press escape. We're going to cancel this one. Let's get rid of this. So what I have to do is I have to come over here and just render the things that I want to render. So the camera, the light, and everything else is perfect. But let's get rid of some of these things that we don't need, right? We don't want any of these things to render. Okay, perfect. So this should be everything that we want to render. And I'm going to go ahead and try to render this one more time. Let's see if this looks better. And I want to make sure that you can see what I'm looking at, because when you go to render, it opens up like a different screen. Okay, that still should be good. So yeah, you do see the render screen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we wait for the render result. As you can see up at the top, currently we're doing frame 1. This one tells us how long it took for the last frame to render. Since we're still in frame 1, we don't really know the answer to that. But we can see how much time has elapsed so far of doing the rendering. Okay, now we're on frame 2. It looks like it took about 51 seconds for our last render, so you can interpolate how long it should take to finish the render. And so if our first frame took us 51 seconds and we have 60 frames, let's do some quick math, shall we? Assuming that everything works out accordingly, it looks like it's going to take us 3,060 seconds. And so how many minutes is that? Let's divide that by 60. 51 minutes. So we're looking at close to an hour. And as you can see right here, you can see a little bit of it coming up. So exciting stuff. I'll see you soon. And I forgot to mention one thing is, let's head back into, I'm going to cancel this render, canceling it. The one thing I failed to mention was how long you want the render to be. So I don't want it to end at 250. I want it to end at, let's see, I want it to go one more second. So instead of 60, I'm going to do 90 frames, and then we're going to do the render. There we go. So just make sure that you keep that in mind whenever you're doing your render. All right, so it should be good to go as far as the render is concerned. Let's see what we got here. All right, drum roll, please. Very cool. All right, so you can also render this. Without a background. if you want to. I just realized you guys didn't see what I saw. All right, drum roll, please. Here's the rendered final product. Very cool. And I hope your logo looks really good too. I'm content with that. I don't like how I think, because I want to be able to put this on any background, so I actually want to render this out with a transparent background as well. Let's see here. All right, so what we're gonna do, everything looks good. I mean, I really like it. The only thing that I would change is I want to get rid of the plane in the background, and then I want to render this thing out with a transparent background. So head on over here to your render properties, and you want to head on down here to the film panel, and then there's a box for transparent. Go ahead and select that. And now that you have that selected, let's go ahead and go on over here to our output properties. All right, for the file format, you're going to want to select PNG. And what you're going to want to do is, you see right here where it says color, you do have the red, green, and blue here. You also want to select the one for the alpha channel. You want that turned on. All right, and then with that done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to render the animation. We're going to go to render animation here, and we wait for the magic to happen. All right, guys, so we're going to go over the necessary things to get the transparent background. I already showed you guys the correct process for the correct settings over here. And so essentially, if you do that, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have whatever file you choose, it's going to come to this file, and that's where all of the PNGs that you saved are going to go, as you can see here. So all of these you should have, well, there's how many frames was in our video? There were 90. So you should have 90 PNG files. So then what you want to do is you want to head on over to Blender. I'm sorry, not Blender. You want to go to whatever, I use Adobe products. So say After Effects, for example, and you want to import a file. You want to import the first PNG in the sequence. And crucially down here is you want it to do the PNG sequence. And that's how it'll know to do that, because it's a sequence and it's not just individual images. So let's do that. And now we have our creation. All right, and then say you want to export this to be able to use this. All right, and so say you want to export this animation so that you can just have it, use it in your videos. Let's verify that we've got the transparency situation turned on, and so we can actually see it. It looks really good, definitely transparent. And so what we want to do here is we want to export this, and for Adobe stuff, you want to send it to the media encoder. And so here you want to press QuickTime if that's what you're using, or some kind of video player. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure to choose the one with the alpha, because anything kind of like alpha is kind of transparent. Here we go. So got that situation going on. I'm going to choose where I want this to go. For myself, it would be this. And now it should transport it as a transparent background. I know it looks black right here, but let's just say that we were to bring this over to After Effects. Let's add a layer to this, or in fact, we can just cancel this one. Let's bring in our video here, and as you can see, there's no background. And another way to kind of tell this is, let's just say that we wanted to put a solid layer on here, and let's make it a different color than ours. Make it red, for example. Bring it to the bottom. You can see that it's truly a transparent background. So
thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that it's helped you along your journey with 3D and maybe a little bit with After Effects, and helping make your creative visions a reality. Again, my name is Elijah, and if you are looking for some one-on-one support, you can comment below or reach me at virtualtutorials123@gmail.com. Thanks, and I'm so much looking forward to help you making your creative dreams become a reality. Cheers.